Good afternoon, everybody. It is the 5th of June, 2025. My name is Marc Ashton, and this is the next installment of our Meet the Management podcast. For those who follow the series, you'll know we are passionate about building an investor ecosystem in South Africa. We're always looking to find ways to support small and mid-cap businesses to try and raise their profile and engage with shareholders. Today, I'm speaking again to Warren Wheatley. Warren is the CEO of Altvest Capital and is probably one of those businesses which has really captured the imagination of South African investors over the last couple of years. Everything from Bitcoin funds to Chinese opportunities through to SA Rugby. Warren, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mark. Always appreciate the time you guys give us and the platform you give us. It certainly helps. There's always an uptick in queries and share activity after these interactions. So we're really grateful that you do the work you do. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. So Warren, I'm going to preface my question with a statement. I mean, obviously, I like the story. I think you guys have really done some interesting and disruptive things over the last 12 months, enough that I'm prepared to come in on board as a retail investor. You hold roughly 31% of the equity in Altvest Capital, so you are very much aligned with your shareholders from that perspective. Looking through this set of results, it feels like it's been a tough 12 months. I think it looks like there are a couple of operational challenges that are coming through. I think if you look at the underlying businesses, a number of your investments struggling at a kind of loss-making level. Auditors have flagged some things, including kind of a liquidity issue. And then obviously you've got a number of balls in the air, whether you're looking at the Bitcoin fund, the rugby. Maybe just give us a little bit of context as to where Altvest is. What are the metrics? I mean, it's obviously a growth business. It's investing in a number of opportunities. What are the metrics you guys are looking at? And what should shareholders be looking at?
So as the CEO, the major issue I'm focused on right now is break even from a cash perspective. I think I've got to deliver that not only for myself and the shareholders, but for society at large.
Yep.
And that goal has been elusive because like a number of issues. SA is not in a good place economically, right? Business is tough. It's hard. We are barraged with regulation, that sort of thing. For us to get a listing approved, which is our revenue generating activity, takes weeks, months. And that's if there are no queries. So my absolute focus is to get this business and to prove to profitability or break even in the first instance, but to prove the investment thesis of it. I think in many ways you could argue that we have, but equally in many ways you could argue that we haven't. I think our asset selection has been good.
Yeah.
I would say superb, except that one out of the three has not worked out perfectly, and that's Bambanani.
Yeah.
Not because, and when I say not perfectly, it's not that we've lost any ambition for the project or any hope in the project. We always knew it was going to be a tough business, and that has proved correct. It's a restaurant. It's a children's restaurant in an economy that's not growing, in an economy where consumers are under constant threat. But the business rationale and the concept remains legit in our minds, and we continue to support the business. There's a lot of exciting things, but the practicality of submitting a valuation to your auditors, they take the real static data into account. And so we had to take a write-off on Bambanani. Umgano, on the other hand, is frequented by Russian and German tourists who continue trying to buy the place from me, who continue spending a fortune on the premises. And so the value keeps going up. Altvest Credit Opportunities Fund is the crown jewel. And that business has not only created incredible value accretion for Altvest shareholders, but the thing I'm most proud of is the impact it's had on society. We have supported in excess of 30 SMEs. We've created or sustained in excess of 1,000 jobs. And if nothing else, I'm proud that we are positive contributors to the malaise that is affecting South African society at large. And so I'm quite proud of what we've done. I'm obviously, well, not obvious. I mean, we always make big promises to shareholders. We've delivered on some and not delivered on others. And for that, I'm apologetic. However, what I can say is that we have mapped out a plan. We've mapped out a roadmap. And all things being equal, if that roadmap unwinds, as I expect it should, we are going to be an impactful capital allocator, really, really supporting the South African entrepreneur and South African society at large in a very, very meaningful way. And so I think the results and the report talk to that.
Yep.
A lot of people forget that we are a startup. You get swayed by that because we listed.
Yeah.
But on the 5th of May, we celebrated our third birthday. That's young by any metric. And by all means, we should, I'm not asking society to gauge us like that. We've asked to be held to a higher standard, and I expect that, and I anticipate that. But when casting judgment, please realize we're still only 3 years old. Yeah. Enough said on that. I take all criticism as I should.
I think that's such a unique thing about Altvest is, if you compare itself to JSE listed peers, there's never really been that development. They've tried the old decks, they've tried the development markets or development board or whatever it was called. For most of your peers have got 10, 15 years, they've got balance sheets, they've got history, they've taken all of the pain outside of the kind of the shareholders' eyes, and now they're kind of getting the opportunity to put themselves the best foot forward. Whereas I think what's quite unique about your journey is obviously looking at you've literally lifted your skirts so that when you're kind of lifting, you're starting out. So it is difficult, and I think that a lot of people appreciate the reality of the entrepreneurial journey. You've got a number of opportunities that are kind of on the radar. I mean, I think there's a lot of interest in what you were talking about with the Chinese venture capital fund. The Bitcoin thing's quite interesting. Also, Stimulator, so that got picked up by Bloomberg at one point. If I think one of the questions is, you've got a lot of balls in the air. Which are the ones that you expect to land over the next 12 months?
So, Mark, I say as much in our report. This is a year of execution. I've got a firm grip on everything we've put out. They are sequentially ordered, and the two top of mind is our Chinese venture capital fund and our Bitcoin opportunity. So, and of course, the crown of the jewel of the crown, Altvest Credit Opportunities Fund. Those three, between myself and my CIO, we are paying specific attention to. An unfortunate consequence of the process we've chosen to subject ourselves to is the fact that regulatory approval is required for all of these things, right? So you get a lot of thinking time. It's time on the platform waiting for the train to come. So both of them have been submitted for both Bitcoin and venture capital. And right now we have to think about what else is next. Absolutely, they are top of mind. I think both are incredible opportunities and in line with our ethos and with what we want to bring to the South African market. Altvest has been on 2 investor missions to China. I am 150% convinced of the investment thesis behind this asset class. South Africans will be among a tiny minority of populations across the world who have access to this asset class through our platform. It's incredible. I'm even afraid to present some of the numbers we've seen. It's that incredible. And when you go to China, you see things like flying cars, driverless cars, cures for cancer, cures for every ailment known to man. And all they're thinking about is how do we commercialize this?
Yep.
And we have access to that now through this product on the one hand. From a Bitcoin perspective, Africa and South Africa in particular, we're behind the curve from an adoption perspective. Now, whether you think that that's good or bad, that's not our call. We want to bring us up onto the curve and give investors the opportunity to make the call. And the rationale around that is let's make a better regulated access point available to investors, pension funds, institutions, retail investors, whatever the case. Because anyone actually can go online, access any one of the trading platforms in the country and buy Bitcoin. The idea here is to bring something that enjoys the governance veneer that our governance frameworks provide, the JSE, FSCA, SARB, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll be buying a product that is overseen by those institutions as opposed to what is readily available now. So yes, not that many balls in the air, 2 at the moment. And we're going to work through this list that you've put up on the screen sequentially and in order. What I try to set out for the public is that it occurred to me in our previous communications that it may have seemed that the future was left at my discretion and my whim and fancy. So what I wanted to do is map out the pathway for Altvest and put something out there that shareholders, stakeholders, or anyone else could hold me accountable to in terms of delivery. So we try to share with the community what our thinking was, and we set out our roadmap so you could map it. It could give you some insight into our thinking, and also left nothing to surprise or chance. I realized after reading our prior paperwork is that people were betting on almost my thinking on the day as to what I thought was an exciting opportunity. And I thought, let's just take all of that uncertainty off the table. Let me express what I'm thinking, the direction we head in, and also where does this end? And so we've set out a finite set of opportunities, and within that opportunity set, we've structured businesses that don't have finite scalability issues. So each of these that we've put down doesn't limit scalability from an Altvest perspective. While we've limited the opportunity set, within each of the opportunities, scalability and reaching enormous scale and size within each of those is completely possible. And that's what I try to get out in this report is that we've tried to curtail our thinking, we've tried to curtail our excitement, and set out to our community what the plan is, but how that plan can mushroom and explode.
Not directly, I mean, it's not an Altvest specific issue, but it is something that does impact you from a shareholder engagement perspective. Is liquidity in your listed assets? You guys made this jump from the Cape Town Stock Exchange to the JSE, brought in the A2X secondary listing. Still struggling for liquidity. Any thoughts around what could be done to stimulate that side of the equation, and maybe any color around the challenge that you're facing there?
So on these kind of questions, it's easy to default into the institutional shortcomings, right? I, however, try and focus on what I can do to improve my liquidity. And the number one thing I can do to improve interest in my stock is to be a better company, to be a more profitable company, to be a more cash flush company. And so that's what I'm focusing on from my perspective. In the back office, we're working furiously to solve some of the institutional hurdles. Lack of analyst coverage, lack of media coverage, and all those other things that just make you back of mind of, or complete lack of mind of the retail investor. So I accept that those things are there. I don't accept them as excuses for my personal delivery on this particular mandate. I know that if I can show a promising investment thesis, that the capital should flow. And that's where my focus is. But there are structural challenges. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Those range from lack of media interest, lack of analyst coverage. You can't get an analyst to cover something under R1 billion for love or money, right?
I think the smallest now, the smallest rated stock is 5 billion, a market cap of 5 billion. There's 280 stocks on the JSE and 28 that are covered by rated analysts. And I think the smallest is 5 billion today. It is tiny.
Yeah. And, Mark, we've tried different tactics in the past. We've tried our stock take competition, which we probably going to do again, where we invite analysts to look at it. We add a cash prize and that kind of thing. We only draw out, some of the best analysts at university and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, we do get attention and coverage, and that's what the aim is. But the model needs work. Ordinarily, and we punch above our weight from a attention perspective, and I appreciate that. And we work hard to achieve that privilege. Our competitors or the guys around our market cap don't enjoy anywhere near the media attention or even liquidity. We illiquid, but if you compare our liquidity to the five guys above us and the five guys below us, in terms of market cap, you'll see we exceed them spectacularly. It does need improvement. I want to be able to have investors short us. We want to be able to write options over our shares, all the cool stuff that drives interest in the business. Where I'm focusing on what I can control, though, and that is getting the business profitable, exciting the investment universe, and not, taking the easy excuse that there are structural impediments. It's not my style.
Warren, I think we'll leave it there. Sorry, I'll let you finish the last comment there.
What I was going to say is you doing important work in this space. The fact that you would even spend half an hour of your life with a company as insignificant to the broader economy as ours is it's God work, Mark, and I don't think enough people high five you or pat you on the back, but it truly is incredible and does make a difference, I must tell you. So it's not just an echo chamber we're in. Your listeners listen, and then they act. They visit our website. They make a decision. Sometimes they walk away. Sometimes they buy. Sometimes they'll do a shitty comment on Twitter. But it creates, and more of this will just create that spotlight onto the smaller caps. And so I thank you personally that you always take the interest, you always take the time. And what I want to leave you with is that it does work.
Warren, I appreciate that feedback. It really is a passion point for us. I mean, I run my own business, you run businesses. It is nothing in business is linear. We love the idea of overnight success, but overnight success is accumulation of factors. So really do appreciate that feedback, and we continue to invest in this part of our contribution to the ecosystem. So thank you very much for that feedback. Warren, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to engaging around the next launches and the next listings as they hit the market.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one.